Hello, Emily. Good morning. Well, I guess actually it's afternoon now. Technically speaking, it's in the afternoon. And happy Saturday, the 13th of October, 2018. It's better that it is the Saturday the 13th, and not Friday the 13th, right? Although Friday the 13th might be more appropriate for the month of Halloween, right? It's October. All right, so happy Saturday the 13th. Today I've just been moving around town, doing stuff. I picked up some tickets, a ticket to go to see Robin Hood at the Cabrillo High School Theater, so I'm looking forward to that. Maybe you'll decide to come along. We'll see. One of the first things I'd like to do is read the Peaceful Living book. See what October the 13th has for us today. So, the quote for the day is, "Don't compromise yourself. You are all you've got." By Janis Joplin. Meeting our need for respect. You know, I respect you. What's your problem? Do you ever find yourself in an argument over whether someone respects you? This argument can be frustrating if you focus on whether the other person respects you. The real question is whether your need for respect is being met. A friend of mine had a tendency to say, "What a girl," to his male friends when they did things that he thought were beneath their ability, such as when they dropped the ball in a softball game. Every time I heard this, I felt annoyed because my need for respect wasn't met. When I tried to speak to him about it, he would often say, "Oh, Mary, you know I respect you. I'm not saying you're a girl, only that Bob is acting like one." Then we would argue about whether he respected me or not. Neither of us was satisfied in this conversation. Then one time I said to him, "You know, every time I hear you call your friends girls when you are disappointed with their behavior, I feel offended because I value respect for all people. Would you be willing to use other means of expressing your frustration while I'm around?" He started telling me once again that he respected me. I responded by saying, "I hear that you feel respect for me, but when I hear you say, 'What a girl,' my need for respect as a female is not met. So, would you be willing to choose a different way to express your disappointment to your teammates while I'm present?" Once I could be clear, he agreed. It is a waste of time to argue about whether we are respected. It is clearer and more effective to state what our need for respect is, not being that our need for respect is not being met by particular behavior, and what we want that would satisfy our need. When we clarify this, we avoid arguments over who respects whom. I'm not interested in labeling the other person as disrespectful. My goal is for the other person to exhibit a different way of showing their respect for me. Making a specific request, in this case, asking my friend to express his disappointment differently while I am present, keeps the focus on what I want. So the thought of the day is, be aware today of times when your need for respect is not being met. Then express your feelings and needs to the other person. Well, I haven't done a lot of thinking about the need for respect. I don't quite know what it means, but I can tell you one thing. I also have a deep need for respect. And, I'm not sure I really know what that means. I just don't know what it means. So I have to explore that a little bit in private, in my thoughts, to try to understand what it means for me to be respected. I'm not altogether sure what it means. So I wonder, do you happen to have a good definition of respect and what it means to you? All right. Well, I guess one thing that I could do is Well, I was thinking maybe what we could do is we could read My Big Fat Zombie Goldfish. There we go. Let's see what chapter we're on. I think it's like 13. Ah, it's chapter 14. All right, let's move forward with that. So chapter 14 of My Big Fat Zombie Goldfish. Here we go. Zombie sleepover. Mom raced back over from Pradeep's house. Okay, boys, thanks for looking after Mark. She winked at me and ruffled my hair. You can act very grown up sometimes, can't you? When you put your mind to it. Frankie splashed in his watering can. I think we should get Frankie back into his bowl for the night, I said. He's had enough air. Pradeep's mom said, you can have your dinner there and then sleep over. It might be best. You never know how long the hospital will take. Remember when you had a concussion from running into that door? Why is it always my boys? She shook her head. Come on, Mark. She helped him up from the sandbox and took him to the car. He was still talking about the fish being out to get him. Mom just nodded. Oh, and Mark, I hailed to him as soon as Mom was pulling out of the drive. Don't worry about the pictures for your experiment. We'll take some good ones for you. The last thing I saw as Mom rounded the corner toward the hospital was Mark banging on the back window, mouthing the words, Moron, no! Pradeep and I went in and got Frankie's goldfish bowl from upstairs, washed it out, and then headed over to Pradeep's house for the night. We decided that Frankie deserved a sleepover too, and Sammy wanted to play with him again. After dinner, we got into our pajamas and had the marshmallow popcorn earthworms with the white chocolate melting ice caps. And we took lots of cool pictures of Frankie. Mom phoned Pradeep's house to say that she was staying with Mark because the doctors wanted to keep him overnight so they could keep an eye on him. I told Mom to make sure it wasn't a very big eye if they could help it. He is my big brother after all. And I think from now on he'll probably go back to just being mostly evil. As long as Frankie's around, my big fat zombie goldfish friend and bodyguard. When Pradeep's mom put Sammy to bed, Pradeep and I got out our sleeping bags and told each other scary zombie stories. Telling scary stories is one of the top things about sleepovers. But the top thing about sleepovers now is if we scare ourselves too much, we've always got a zombie goldfish nightlight to make everything seem brighter and a bit green. How cool is that? Okay. So I think that's the end of the first section of the book. The next section is called Rules the School. So it looks like things came to a satisfying resolution. You know, Tom's mom took Mark to the hospital, and the boys, Tom and Pradeep, were able to locate the goldfish and get the goldfish back in the bowl, and probably use the green food coloring to fool Mark that nothing had changed about the goldfish. And it seems like the zombie goldfish is not doesn't have anyone under a trance right now. So, I mean, this is all good news. Everything is really coming together in this book, My Big Fat Zombie Goldfish. And guess what? I'm exactly halfway through the book. So I actually don't know what the second half of the story is going to be about. We pretty much finished it. So anyway, I think that what I'll do now is we'll take some time out and answer some questions. Now, if you recall, I had a book of questions just a moment ago. And, oh, you know what? I'm finding the location of that book of questions. I think this is it. Okay, so if you recall, we were talking about cartoons. And I told you about some of my favorite cartoons, one of them being Scooby-Doo. And so let's move on. I think that was question number 14. Question number 15 is, do you have an all-time favorite movie? And I actually have two, I think. Number one, I think my favorite movie is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That's the second installment of the Indiana Jones series. And believe it or not, I think another favorite movie of mine is The Empire Strikes Back. Star Wars. It's part of the Star Wars group of movies. Interestingly enough, that's also the second movie in the series. So that's kind of interesting how that turned out. I think those are two of my favorite movies. What's kind of interesting is I don't watch a lot of, say, drama adventure movies anymore. But I watched them a lot when I was a kid. They were certainly exciting. I really like the idea of thinking about Indiana Jones and thinking about Star Wars. That's cool stuff. I also have a real enjoyment of Star Trek, particularly Star Trek The Next Generation, the TV series. One of my favorites. So let's move on to the next question. Do you have an all-time favorite series? That's question number 16. I was just talking about series. I mentioned 3 series just now. The Indiana Jones series, the Star Wars series, and what was the other series? Oh man, it skips my mind right now. So do I have an all-time favorite series? Well, I think right now I can say that my favorite series is probably Seinfeld, the comedy TV series. Now, you might be asking, why do you like Seinfeld? Well, first of all, it's not like it's the funniest movie or funniest show ever created, but I just like its style. I think I enjoy Seinfeld, the comedian, and I also like the characters. They were very colorful, George and Kramer. And I also like, what was her name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Yeah, she played a really great character. It was just really memorable for me growing up to watch Seinfeld a lot. And I think what I like is just mostly the style. I like the story writing style, and it's just, for me, it's just cozy. It's a cozy series that I can always come back to and enjoy. And I've watched those episodes again and again and again and again. So I would say that that's my favorite series. Now, do I have a favorite movie series? Golly, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite movie series, honestly. What I can say is that I do have a favorite science fiction series. My favorite science fiction series is Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah, it was Jean-Luc Picard. Boy, I tell you, I sure do love that series. I think I love that series for its philosophical standpoints, its vision of the future, which I think is really inspiring. And plus I like the acting and the stories. Really enjoyable. So I like Star Trek The Next Generation. So if you're going to give me any kind of TV series paraphernalia, for fans, you couldn't go wrong by getting me something related to Seinfeld or maybe even Star Trek The Next Generation. Just can't go wrong. Boy, it's suddenly gotten really hot in here for me. Is it getting hot for you too? I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's maybe I'm just getting old. That is true. That is true. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So, okay, why are these your favorite series? That's question number 17. Well, I mentioned it a little bit already, but I like this familiarity, this formula. There's something about this formula and the style. It's very, particularly, it's very familiar. It's something that's, you just watch a few seconds of a particular TV program and you get a sense of the style that the director and the producer are going for. And it's just reliable. It's just this sort of a habitual way of presenting material. And, I like other producers of media for the very same reason. For example, one of my favorite movie directors is, what's his name? I can't believe I've forgotten his name. But he was the one who produced movies such as Blue Jasmine, or directed movies such as Blue Jasmine and Bananas, and Manhattan Murder Mystery, and shows like that. I forget his name offhand, but he's a very famous director, and he basically makes movies the same old way that he's always made movies. They've always got that jazz intro and jazz outro, and then it's always this, when the characters are talking, they're always talking in the same kind of way. It's sort of like this conversational, unscripted way of talking. And they pretty much always star him in the movie, but not always, as some kind of lead or not quite the lead. And that hasn't been the case with some of his more recent movies. But I think I like it just for the style, the direction style, producing style. I don't know. I just like that familiarity. For me, it's very comforting. Yeah. All right, so let's see, what else have we got to go on today? Do you consider yourself... Oh, here we go. Do you have a least favorite series? Question 18. A least favorite series? A least favorite TV or movie series? Or even book series? No, I don't really have a least favorite series. The reason is because I would have to watch my least favorite series, right? I just don't know about my least favorite series because I just haven't watched them. So do I have a least favorite series? I don't know. I don't think I do. And if I did, I just wouldn't pay any attention to it. So I wouldn't know anything about it if I had a least favorite series. One thing that I neglected to talk about was a book series. And, that's an interesting question. Do I have a series of books that I really enjoy? Well, yeah. I really appreciate Nathaniel Branden and his work. He was a self-help guru back in he might even still be alive. But he popularized the self-esteem movement, or he was one of the persons who did. Nathaniel Branden. Basically, I like all of his books. The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. Oh man, if I only could remember them. But I like Nathaniel Branden's series. I really need to reread those. It's been a good couple decades since I've read them. I also like the Ayn Rand series of nonfiction books and philosophical books. I don't know, what can I say? Thing is though, it has also been about a decade or so since I've read that series of books, so maybe I wouldn't call them my favorite right now, but in the past, they were my favorite. And let's see what else. What else is a favorite? Well, I kind of like comic books. At least I did as a youth. And I wonder, do I have a favorite series of comic books? Well, I really enjoyed the X-Men, and I enjoyed Aquaman, and I enjoyed Thor. I think Thor would be my favorite comic book series. I don't know. That's just what I really enjoyed. I also like Daredevil. For some reason, I like Daredevil a lot. I don't know how I could relate to Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen, right? This blind lawyer. But I don't know. I really like Daredevil. That was a neat series for me. And let's see. So now, do I have a least favorite comic book series? No. I have no idea about a least favorite comic book series. I don't know. Do you have any? What are your most favorite series and maybe your least favorite series? Do you have any opinions about that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Alrighty, my Kindle has a tendency to pause. So here we go. So question number 19. Do you consider yourself unbiased and truthful? Okay. Well, my view is that everyone is biased. We all have values that we seek to keep and gain. And so, no, I believe that everyone is biased just because they're always trying to follow or pursue certain values. It's just a fact of life. So, and then the next question is, am I truthful? Do I consider myself truthful? You know, human psychology is built on lots of uncertainty. There is a lot of uncertainty about the world and things in the world, uncertainty about myself, uncertainty about others. So here's the thing. I think in general, I do consider myself unbiased and truthful. That is a true statement. I really do. But at the same time, I recognize that beneath that, true unbiased thinking and truthful thinking is just not possible. It's just not possible. It is, I mean, there is no such thing as 100% unbiased, 100% truthfulness. It just can't be because of the nature of the world, the nature of reality, and the nature of our psychology, the nature of philosophy. You know, though I do believe that we're always doing the best we can, and you know, there is a theory out there, I think it's like egocentric psychology, that are egocentric, and that is the sense that everyone is always working in their long-term self-interests. I used to think that that was the case, sort of a psychological egoism, but I'm not sure anymore. I think 99% of the maybe 90% of the time it's true. Particularly when there seems to be some known value that's being achieved. But like I mentioned, quite often people are very uncertain about what the truth is and what they want to pursue, and what they want to avoid. There's a lot of uncertainty about that. And there's a lot of uncertainty in relationships and how we deal with the world. There's uncertainty about what we want. And you know, human beings are just not very good at predicting the future. I mean, we're pretty good. We're doing okay, like 50%, maybe 60% of the time. We're doing okay. But predicting the future is a real challenge. You know, it's really hard to predict the future, say, about the weather or about the economy. If people could predict the future about the weather and the economy, well, let me tell you, those people would make millions of dollars because they'd be very valuable. Their predictive powers would be so necessary. But like I said, it's really hard to predict what the outcome of our actions will be. And that is even our mental acts and our physical acts. It's not always clear, and hence it's really difficult to say. So I guess that's my answer to the question, and that is, you know, in general terms, yes, I'm truthful and unbiased. Though the reality is much different. And I recognize that it's really nearly impossible for anyone to be unbiased and 100% truthful. So that's my statement of beliefs about that question. All right. So here's question number 20. What things do you think are a necessary evil? Well, the first thing that pops into my head are economies. It's economics. It's a necessary evil. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean to say is I'm thinking about socialism and capitalism and the choices about how to ration scarce resources on the planet. The fact is, as human beings live on the planet, there are scarce resources. And I think a necessary evil is just ways to manage the fact of having scarce resources. And why is it evil? Because, hey, I don't want to take goods away from people who want to use them. I don't want to do that. And in some respects, it is kind of evil. There's a rationing process that's happening. We're rationing the values. We're rationing medical care. We're rationing homes that people can live in. We're rationing services that are important for people. And so that means that some people get these services and some people don't. And that's basically evil. Okay. But it's necessary. It's just, I don't know how to say it. Fact is, there just aren't any good ways to ration scarce resources. There's no good ways. Lotteries, not entirely ethical or good. Free trade, not entirely ethical or good. Socialism, that is government-controlled markets, not entirely ethical or good. So, how do you work around that problem? How do you work around the problem of scarcity and make it good all around for everybody? There's just no way. So I think that problems of economics are a necessary evil. And, that we're choosing, for me, this whole question of socialism, capitalism, or whatever economics one chooses, I think there ought to be scientific studies that lead the way. I think science can tell us a lot about how communities ought to use different methods for rationing scarce resources, to create certain outcomes. A lot of that is a values-based type thinking, but I think, from a social science perspective, that there are solutions to economic problems. Absolutely. And that is on a large scale, right? On a general scale. And that those solutions can be scientifically elaborated on and analyzed. Now, that's not really what's happening now. Really what's happening now is that people are taught some philosophical position and then they parrot that position without thinking much about it. And then they become advocates, like cheerleaders of one position or another. That's not a very deep, thoughtful, enlightened way to approach economics, in my view. But anyway, that's a necessary evil. Let's see, are there any other things that are necessary evils? Well, a lot of being a human, a lot of what it means to be a human and to live a human life is what I call logistics. You just have to get up and make your bed and wash your clothes and do your dishes. A lot of being human is just logistics. It's walking to the toilet. It's walking to the refrigerator. It's logistics, right? And preparing the food you're going to eat and working so that you can have a place to live and pay for the things you want to satisfy your needs. It's evil. I want to stay in bed every day just like everyone else does. I just want to watch TV or have fun and play. And who wants to go to work? Nobody does. But you know what? It's just a necessary evil. It's just, again, another aspect of living in the world with scarce resources. In the future, there's going to be a lot more resources. We're going to be able to harness the sun and harness nuclear energy and harness artificial intelligence and harness bacteria and viruses and chemicals and materials, and we'll be able to harness all of this. And once we've harnessed all of it, it's just going to blossom in this overflow of abundance and knowledge. We just haven't gotten there yet. And it may take us 1,000 years to get there. And you know what? It may only take us another one or 200 years, really, for us to get there. Yeah, I mean, look at what we've done with the Industrial Revolution in the last 150 years. I mean, for goodness sake, we are kicking butt out there, folks. Now, it's true we don't know much about life extension, and we haven't cured cancer or the common cold or our energy problems, but we're getting there. So yeah, I'm actually very hopeful about the future. I think if we can, with the Industrial Revolution and the information age, take care of a lot of people's needs, basically 7 billion people's needs on the planet. And not that we're taking care of them very well, but if we've done a fairly suitable job over the last 150 years. In the next 150 years, we're going to crush this problem. So long as we're able to put the cap on, say, greenhouse gases, and so our climate doesn't go out of control completely. But I think in the next 150 years, we're going to really crush a lot of problems related to scarce resources. And the future generations, they're going to live lives that are going to be so unlike ours. There's going to be so much less logistics. They're going to have robots and artificial intelligence doing all kinds of things. Technological age, we're going to be communicating with people using our minds. We're going to have so much energy, we're not going to know what to do with it all. And it's just going to be an amazing thing. And it's only going to take about another 150 years, really, until we probably solve the problem 80%. Certainly with 8 billion people on the planet. That is, if we can make it. If we can make it an extra 150 years. If there isn't a nuclear holocaust or any kind of other problem related to climate or whatever, or an earthquake or a comet. The last thing we need is what happened to the dinosaurs. What was it? 75 million years ago. We don't need a comet yet. Just give us another 150 years and then let those comets fly. But we don't have the means right now to handle a comet wiping out all life on the planet. We just don't have a way to protect ourselves. So anyway, so as you can tell, I'm rather optimistic. I think we've already gone a long way towards making things a lot better for life on the planet. And these necessary evils that I talked about, the economics, the logistics of living, those necessary evils will go away. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to have them go away. In fact, I can imagine 150 years from now, people will just be struck amazed. They will be struck in amazement that we would drive in cars and risk our lives to go to the grocery store like we do. They will be amazed at the struggle that we had to perform by going to work every day and earning a wage. They'll be going, what? Who needs to do that? They just won't understand. And, it's funny. Right now, we human beings in our culture, particularly in America, are standing on the shoulders of giants. Really, people like Aristotle, people like Plato, people like Freud and Aaron T. Beck, who's the originator of cognitive behavioral therapy. And, we're definitely standing on the shoulders of giants. Inventors like Tesla and Newton and Einstein, Descartes. These folks changed everything. Darwin really just changed everything. We're just, we are at a gallop right now in terms of innovation. We are nearly in this point called a singularity in terms of technology, where technology is developing so quick that we can't even keep up. We can't keep track of it. Our culture is changing so much. I mean, even the culture of 20 years ago. Hey, I'm 50 years old, so I can talk about this. Even the culture of 20 years ago, much of it is obsolete. I kid you not. There are things that we could have done 20 years ago that we can't do today. And vice versa. There are things that we can't have done 20 years ago, but that we can do today. It's mind-boggling, the changes that have happened. Just in the last 20 years, and guess what? I'm only 50 years old. I'll probably be living not just 120 20-year span again, but a second 20-year span too. From 50 to 70, from 70 to 90. I bet you I'll make it to 90. That's if I can stay alive. If I don't get run over by a car or break my neck or get cancer or one of a million other things that'll kill me. But anyway, I'm still optimistic. Bring me back, Emily, bring me back. Bring me back out of my cryogenic sleep, my cryogenic slumber. I'm serious. Okay, let's see. All right. All right, so that was question number 20. What things do I think are a necessary evil? And let's move on. As a superhero, what power would you have? Whoa, that's a good question. So, now when I was a kid, I enjoyed comic books. And I really like thinking about comic book heroes. And I even created my own, like, fictional comic book character. Yeah, I remember that. That was a lot of fun. Now, when I think of a superhero, and if I were ever to be a superhero, what kind would I be? I want to be a powerful superhero. What can I say? And the power that always struck me as being really powerful is something like Magneto, right? Magneto is, I forget whether he's Marvel or DC Comics, but I think he might be Marvel. And Magneto is just a superhero. What he can do is he can control metal with his mind, right? And he's one of the most powerful superheroes. I believe he's a leader of the opposition to the X-Men, right? He's Xavier's archenemy. So what I appreciate about Magneto is his ability to sort of use mind to manipulate matter. But what he can manipulate is metal only. So I would go beyond that with my own superpowers, and I'd be able to manipulate any kind of matter and maybe any kind of energy using only my mind. Okay. I forget what the technical term for that kind of power is. Is it telekinesis? I don't know. Now, telekinesis is the ability to use your mind to move objects. So maybe that's what it is. It's sort of a telekinetic power where I can move. I think that would be one of the most powerful things to have. One other power that I think is very powerful is the ability to listen to other people's minds. And that would be an extremely powerful. You know what's interesting to me is right now, I echo the two powers of Magneto and Xavier back and forth because I know that Xavier has the power to read minds. Wow. Can you imagine having both powers? The telekinetic power and also the empath power? I mean, you would be unstoppable. Really. Because really that's all there is in the world. There's just the physical external world, and then there's the mind. And, of course, as we both know, there's really no difference because the mind is nothing more than a matrix it's nothing more than chemistry and physics. So, I think that would be pretty amazing to have both of those powers. So, if I could combine having those powers, the telekinetic powers and the empathy powers, there wouldn't be anything I could do. The question is, could I be happy? I think I could do a pretty good job. Let's try. Let's do an experiment. All right, so as a superhero, what power would you have? And those would be the powers that I have. What would your superhero name be? Well, my superhero name. How about Magneto? Mega Magneto. I'd like some Brainiac, Magneto Brainiac. I'm trying to think of a name that would combine. What's that all about? Sorry. I have no idea what this is. What the heck? What? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so, I just got a text that was super duper long. It's like, what's going on here? Text messages are not made to be really super duper long. It's not like email. Text messaging is not like email. That's some fatherly advice. Text messages are not emails. Okay, so what I was getting at. Oh, I was coming up with a name for a superpower. Or for my superhero. I don't know. Maybe like Psycho Magneto. I don't know. That probably wouldn't go over too well. Because psycho has a double meaning, right? Okay. So let's move on. What's the next question? Question number 23. What symbol would you use on your outfit and what would it symbolize? Well, I just thought of something. How about a brain with a barbell next to it? There you go, man. So the brain would represent your psychonautic powers, and the barbell would sort of be related to your ability to move material with your mind. Yeah, I like that idea. Like a brain and a barbell. All right, let's see. What else is next? Okay, so this is question number 24. Do I dream often? Well, yeah, I do dream. I think I dream every night. Absolutely. Now, I may not remember the dreams with exquisite detail. I think that a person can teach themselves to remember their dreams, to train themselves to remember their dreams. But, I don't put a lot of energy into remembering my dreams. I kind of have this belief that dreams are like the brain's method of housekeeping. It's about the brain sort of daydreaming, except it's night dreaming. If you're sitting in the classroom and you're not doing much and you're looking out the door, you're looking out the window, you're daydreaming. And I think that the daydreaming is very much like nighttime dreaming. It's like, well, we're kind of here and our brain is kind of working. And so naturally it thinks about whatever's going on. And of course, dreams will utilize ideas and concepts that are available, particularly ones that are readily available. That is, ideas that have influenced you in the last day or last couple days or weeks. And themes like that will show up in your dreams that you have at nighttime. And so that, I think, is perfectly natural, perfectly normal, and I don't think necessarily that dreams have anything particularly insightful to say about yourself, although they can be quite insightful. I mean, after all, it is material that's your brain is choosing to think about, for one reason or another. It's sufficiently stimulating that it wants to do some more processing in those areas. So, yeah, I can see how they could provide some insight, and I can see that they could provide a lot of useful insight, of course. I think that analyzing your dreams has some utility, so long as you don't get a lot of outside interpretations. I think when it comes to dream interpretation, really the authority of your dream is yourself, right? I mean, it is, after all, your material. That is, it is a reflection of your values and your experiences, and only your values and experiences, right? If I were to hear another person's dream, I might hear what I'd call, there'd be a storyline, but I would never really be able to sort of understand what that dream meant to the other person with the depth that the other person could. I mean, so I would guess that if I was going to do any dream analysis, I mean, I might benefit from telling other people about it because it would help me make connections in my own mind about what my dreams were about. During the process of me expressing myself creatively and trying to understand the dream, I think I could get some benefit from telling others what I think my dream was. But when it comes, and you know what, I might even receive some feedback that might be fairly significant to me as I understand it, and it would be an insight that only I could have, right? So, but you know, beyond that, you know, I don't think there is any special insight to dreams, any sort of insight that's like sort of unattainable in any other ways. Although, you know, it may be the case that it might be unattainable in other ways. So I do believe in the power of dreams to sort of be insightful to a person, but it's not like a supernatural power. And you know, it's not. I think a lot of it is just sort of as valuable as daydreams are. Period. You know, I could if I'm daydreaming during the daytime, and then remembering those daydreams at a later date and analyzing them. My belief is that those dreams would be just as insightful as the nighttime dreams. That is, the analysis for the daytime dreams would be just as insightful as the analysis for the nighttime dreams. Yeah. And you know, what is kind of interesting is the loss that I know there's a loss of fidelity. When I think about my dreams, say that happened the night before, there is a loss of fidelity. I do have a sense that there are parts of the story that I'm not relating or that I'm not remembering. And you know, that is the case quite often, which is true with even daydreams too. But I think it might be more so with nighttime dreams. There is definitely a loss that happens, and I'm really not sure how to account for that other than, you know, it's just a brain. You know, maybe the brain doesn't remember the nighttime dreams as part of the physiology. Maybe there's a physiological reason why nighttime dreams are not well remembered. I think, though, that like anything, it's a skill that a person can remember, that a person can learn to perform. Just as people are really strong in memory championships, or maybe they're really strong in math or reading, or language. I think that memory acquisition and retaining can be learned and improved upon, probably in significant ways. You know, just by paying attention to the problem, say writing into a journal or a diary at nighttime, I can see how that might have a really strong effect in sort of just raising your awareness about the need or the necessity, or maybe even just the desire to remember your nighttime dreams. And I can see that works really well. Okay, so the next question is, what was your last dream about? Question number 25. So give me a moment for me to dig up what my last dream about was last night. I kind of remember what my dream about was a couple nights ago, but let me think about last night. They're so fleeting. I won't be able to recover the dream, I think. I'll have to spend some time meditating on it to really recover it, if I'm able to recover it at all. But I just don't remember. Question number 26. Do you believe dreams have a special meaning? I already addressed that a little bit. And no, I don't think they have a special meaning. I do think that they just happen to be a hodgepodge of material that your brain is processing in the moment. It could be both your conscious and subconscious brains. You know, that has some value. I acknowledge that that's valuable. You know, it's important to know what your brain is thinking about and how it's thinking about it, how it's framing these ideas. And but I don't think there's any special meaning in a dream. That is, I don't think that dreams are sort of implanted into a person's brain as a way to help them sort of transition to a new self or transform into a better being. It really is, in my view, just it's sort of like sort of like, I want to say the crumbs of consciousness, but it's just, it's whatever makes up consciousness in dream form. So, question number 27. What would you do as a lottery winner? That is the question again. What would you do as a lottery winner? Okay, that is an interesting question. What would I do as a lottery winner? Well, chances are I probably would. I probably wouldn't stop working, but I would probably do a different kind of work. And it would probably be like internship level work where I would explore different industries. Or maybe I would go to other parts of the world and engage in building schools or helping with water projects or things like that. Or I might even, explore high technology industry and maybe learn about AI. For me, I would definitely keep busy as a lottery winner. But for me, that busyness would be focused on things like learning. I would definitely be focused on learning. I still might take college classes. Oh yeah. And I would probably learn about cultures, and I'd probably travel a lot more than I do today. I might even have an entourage. I like the idea of having an entourage. So just folks who just sort of cling as I move from country to country or whatever, as friends and companions. That sounds like fun. I think I'd probably go to a lot more music festivals and art festivals. Definitely do stuff like that. I think I would engage in more recreation. Like I'd probably go skiing and water skiing. And now here's the thing too. One of the conflicts I have with winning a lottery is I don't know how I would go to the gym, find gym times and regular gym times. I would definitely have to work that out. I'd have to work out sort of exercise and diet. The great thing about being poor is that exercise and diet comes rather easy. There's just one gym to go to, right? Or one or two gyms. And my day is really structured. So, when it comes to diet, that's easy. I'm always at home. It's a cost-saving measure for me to eat food that I prepare in my own kitchen. And so, I prepare my own meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at home. And I think as a very wealthy person, I would really struggle with, say, preparing my own meals. I eat a very simple diet, a vegan diet, right? It's, rice and beans and pasta and bread and, soy products. If I had a lot of money, I might be tempted to change my diet altogether. And that could be problematic. So there's some problems that I'd have to solve as a wealthy person. And those problems would mainly sort of be related to diet and exercise. As a poor person, diet and exercise can be easily managed out of habits. Because I basically am in the same place all the time, eating the same stuff all the time, and working out all the time in the same place. And there's basically no change, and I love, the routine of that. But definitely, if I got really wealthy, ultimately, I'd have a really tough time with diet and exercise. I don't know how people like Ellen DeGeneres, and I don't know how these really wealthy people do it. I mean, Oprah Winfrey, I don't know. How do you manage your diet and exercise when you're wealthy? I would have to get a personal chef. I'd also have to get a personal trainer. I mean, that would be like the only thing I could do. Okay, Emily, I'm going to wrap it up. I just want to say how grateful I am that you would be willing to spend some time with me. I hope you learned something about my perspective on the world by listening to me answer these questions from my Kindle. I'm I'm also enjoying talking about the answers, and I know I haven't really gotten to telling you again about my life story, but I'll have to dig up that information, dig up those memories another time, and I'll start that series up again anyway, again, sometime soon. Anyway, I love you very much, Emily. I am excited about your life and what potential you have unfolding before you, and I love you dearly, and I'm 100% committed to your advancement and support. And you're welcome to call on me anytime for any reason. And whatever is mine is yours. Talk to you later. Bye-bye, my darling. Love and peace.